Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You are tuned in to IHWE Radio. As always, I am your host, Michael McCurdy, the creator and author of Encyclopedia WCCW. And yes, tonight I am back in my chair where I belong. A couple weeks ago, I did the co-host spot. Last week I was on a vacation, but I'm back. We're going to rock this show tonight. Joining me, as always, is my co-host. I missed him. He's a good man. I call him the king of all social media. He's the man with the plan. He's got a show coming up June 8th. We're going to be talking about that tonight. Please welcome David Fuller. David, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for the introduction, and I'm glad that you're back. Last week was weird without you. For the longest time, I thought I would like to try a show without you because it would be interesting. But you bring a lot to the table, and you can send me my check for saying that. I appreciate you being here. We got a good show tonight. Let's get rocking and rolling.
Yes, we do have a good show tonight, and we are already being joined in the studio by one of our guests. You can say that tonight we have a little bit of royalty on the show. We have with us Connie Gordy, the wife or the widow of Terry Gordy, one of the fabulous Freebirds, one of the greatest tag teams in world-class history, if not wrestling history, period. Her husband was just inducted into the IHWE Hall of Fame last week. She was there to accept that nomination, to accept that induction, and we are proud to have her on the show tonight. Connie, how are you doing this evening? Let's try this again.
Okay, Connie, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. We had a little
radio
technical issue. All right, we got her on the air. Connie, thank you for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thank you all for having me. Glad to be here.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you on here tonight, Connie. Speaking for myself, I'm sure as well as David. As I said, I'm a big fan of the fabulous Freebirds. They were always one of my favorites, one of the greatest tag teams in world class, if not wrestling in general. So, this is about as close to having the Freebirds on as we're probably going to get on this show. Maybe. We might try to see what we can work out, but it is a pleasure to have you on here tonight.
I'm glad to be here and everything, Hall of Fame was unbelievable, great time. Terry would not believe the attention that he still receives. He was just about the people himself, and he would just be like, wow, man, it was just my job. I'm just doing something I love and just doing my job and what they pay me to do. So he would be really honored, very much.
Well, I said at the Hall of Fame, I said this candidly when I got up and talked at the beginning, and I was actually trying to lock eyes with the Gordy family, and I didn't find them until after I was done. But I thought the Freebirds all were good at something. Michael had the charisma. Buddy Jack Roberts was just that gritty, colorful character, especially when he had his head shaved. But Terry, I think, was the workhorse. And again, it wasn't nothing against the two other ones, but Terry was just, Jim Ross said that Terry was the best teenage wrestler he had ever seen. He was a natural. Stan Hansen got up there after Connie spoke, and Stan Hansen said Terry Gordy was the best big man he had ever been in the ring with. So when you got people like that saying that, Terry Gordy had his run in world class. He also had a run with Bill Watts as the UWF heavyweight champion. Then he went to Japan and redefined tag team wrestling once again with Dr. Death Steve Williams. He also teamed up with Stan Hansen and several other people, but him and Dr. Death really had a huge run. Comes back over here, gives ECW the rub when they were still getting attention, and came down here in 1999 and had a hell of a match with another Hall of Famer who we inducted on Saturday, Gary Toole. I was there for that match. They drew over 500 people to the Bronco Bowl, and that was one of the last big houses they had in this territory. And it was thanks to Terry, and I met Terry that night. He was super cool. And the Gordy family, just amazing. The nicest people you would ever meet. And I was just honored to have Connie and Amber and Miranda there. And was it your brother, Connie?
Yes, it was my brother. Shane Bagley. He used to drive Terry. When I didn't drive, then Shane stuck. In fact, Shane lived in Houston at the time. We built our house up on the mountain in Tennessee, and he talked Shane into coming to visit. He had a 2-week vacation, and he said, man, you got to spend the whole time up here. And he said, well, I'm going to come spend the week, but, I got some friends I'm going to see. Well, he came up there, and Terry said, you're never leaving. And he didn't. And he still lived there today until a few weeks ago, and he's moving here to help me with my dad. But Terry said, no, you're coming to vacation, and I'm not going to let you leave. And we thought it was like a joke, but he said no, and he never did. He never let him leave. And he got him to drive him. When I didn't drive, and he was, he drove him. So it was kind of funny, but so it was good for Shane to see some of the guys too that he hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was one heck of a ceremony, and it was our honor to induct Terry Gordy into the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. I saw Terry wrestle. I got excited about this. It was 1996. I believe it was Continental Wrestling Federation or Continental Wrestling Alliance. It was at the Sportatorium. It was one of the last territories or last promotions to come through the Sportatorium, and Terry wrestled the one-man gang in the main event. It was on television. And I got really excited about that. It was the summer of 1996. I was a teenager. I got really excited about it. It was Terry Gordy and the one-man gang. They went in there and had, their brawl and did what they do best. But it was, Terry just had that aura about him. And everybody has always praised Terry's work. And I was very intimidated when I met him, Terry Gordy. But he was super cool. I was just breaking into the business. And I looked like a little mark running around backstage. What I was trying to do was I was just trying to meet as many people as I could and soak up whatever knowledge I could get from people. And like I said, I wanted to meet Terry, but I didn't want to be considered a mark. So I just went up, introduced myself. I did get his autograph on a program. And Connie, I had a copy made for you, and I forgot to give it to you last week. I'm going to get your address here in the next few days, and I'm going to send it to you. It was a program that Terry wrestled at down here when he wrestled for NWA Southwest in 1999. So I want you to have that.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah,
wow,
no
that's
problem.
great. That's great.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Michael, did you have any questions for Connie? I mean, she was there with the Freebirds, so Lord knows the story she has. She can write a book probably tomorrow.
Well, I'd hate to start one. Ric Flair, every time he sees me, he goes, you're not here writing the book, are you? And I'm like, buddy, you're the first name I'd have to change, man. I couldn't tell the truth. I would be in big trouble.
Well, before I have any questions here, there is one story I kind of wanted to share real fast, just to kind of give you an idea of just kind of what Terry meant and all that stuff. When I was at Cauliflower Alley, I believe it was 2007, Dr. Death was there. And he had his photos lined up. He was selling his book, and he had pictures. And one of the pictures he had was him and Terry in Japan. They're holding the trophy and all that. I just happened to stop. I was just looking through, just got there. Wasn't really looking to purchase anything, wasn't really introducing myself to anybody yet. But I looked at one of those pictures, and Dr. Death walked up to me, looks at the picture, looks at me, and he goes, now that's wrestling. That's a team. And then I ended up sitting there for 20 minutes talking to Dr. Death, Steve Williams, about how great a tag team partner Terry was and how much fun they had in Japan, and just story after story. And for the rest of that weekend, every time I saw him, he had another story about Terry and Japan and WCW when they came over here to wrestle in the tournament to win the NWA World Tag Team titles. I got story after, I can't remember all of them, but every time I saw him, and then this one time with Terry, we did this, and he just had story after story. I mean, it was great. So, I mean, he left a legacy behind that's just absolutely amazing. We're talking a legacy that's all right along there with guys like Bruiser Brody and, just some of those other names from Texas and in wrestling in general. It's a legacy that just can't be matched. And I just wanted to share that story because I thought that was great.
Frank got him that job in Japan. Frank told him, he said, Terry, you need to come over here. You would do great. Stan and I do great over here. You come over here. And he goes, man, that's a long way from cornbread and beans. He said, no, man, you come on over here, And Frank actually, he did, bro. He got him the job over there, and he was never disappointed. He always said that I do a good job. And he said, you sure did. You did a great job. He said, you did me proud. And then they worked together over there. Then him and Stan worked together, like I say, him and Steve. They did a great job. Mr. Bible was a great promotion to work for. Those people treated me like a queen when I was over there. They really did. That we got to be personal friends and did things outside the wrestling, and it was really a great. I mean, they're great people over there. They took really good care of us. Those guys, I can't imagine trying to manage all those guys. It'd be like having 50 kids. Trying to keep them all in line over there, it was just almost impossible. Yeah, 50 big kids.
50 big kids.
Unruly, unruly big kids.
Yeah, that's why.
That's
why the Hall of Fame was again so special, because Terry was being inducted, and then Stan was being inducted on the same night, and that was something that I really wanted to do. I really wanted them to go in together. Stan is the most modest person you'll ever meet. I told him last year when he came to the Hall of Fame to accept for Frank Goodish. He accepted on behalf of Barbara, and Stan got really emotional during his speech, and he almost got emotional talking about Terry last Saturday. James Beard did, and James comes back to me all upset, and I looked at James Beard and I said, number one, everybody knows how close you and Terry were. I said, number two, if it ain't real, I would rather have genuine emotion come out, because then it's real. I said, so don't worry about it. I got a little choked up talking about Matt Bourne. I wasn't as close to Matt Bourne as you, Connie, people like you, people like James, but I got to know Matt over the past couple of years, and Matt's family was there. So, I can understand completely. But anyway, so I told Stan I wanted you to go into the Hall of Fame next year, and he said, oh, no, I'm not. No, you don't need to honor me. And then after I talked to Connie and got her blessing to let us induct Terry, I called Stan, and Stan said, Connie's going to be there, and you're inducting Terry? And I said, yeah. He said, I'll be there. So, it was really cool for Terry to go in, with Stan. That's just, and that's a bond, and people don't get it these days, and it's not there in wrestling anymore. It's a bond, and it's really cool. We're going to talk a few minutes more about it, but we have an announcement to make, and I'm going to go ahead and make it because I'm impatient when it comes to these things. June 8th, we have a show in Fort Worth called the IHWE Experience. We're the company that hosts the Hall of Fame every year, and my thing is Texas has a lineage and a history second to none. Jim Ross said no state has contributed more to the betterment of professional wrestling than Texas. So on June 8th, in addition to all the matches we've announced, we're going to have a special attraction, something that's very near and dear to my heart, and something that Connie and Terry's daughters are going to be there. It's going to be the Terry Gordy Memorial Cup Battle Royal. And this is going to be an opportunity for wrestlers from all over the country, all over the world, anybody who wants to be in it, to get in there and fight for the opportunity, just like Terry did every night. Terry went in there and he put out his best. This is their opportunity to be to be enshrined with Terry Gordy in that Memorial Cup. And Connie, I cannot tell you how much it means to me to host that match, and we had this conversation a few days ago. It's just going to make the show that much more important to have Terry, you, and the girls associated with it, and I can't thank you enough.
Man, we're so excited about it. The girls, I told them, what we were doing, and they're excited. And the only thing they really had said was, look, we want some guy to really get in there and kick butt. He better deserve it. He better deserve it. He better get in there and do his best. And said, we'll be happy to raise that hand and hand that trophy out.
Yes.
They're ready for it. They're excited.
IHWE Superstars, you heard it from Connie herself and the Gordy family. You're going to have to fight for this. And I just signed a guy last night to be in the Battle Royal. He's 7 feet tall. So, the people are coming out of they're coming out of the woodwork. I have another guy that was trained by Dory Funk Jr. He's going to be in it. So, and James Beard and Rick Manning are going to be down there, and they're going to make sure that James Beard and Rick Manning are going to make sure that the person who wins, there's no chicanery, no shenanigans. Even though Terry might like that. He might like a little free bird shenanigans. But that night, the best fan is going to win.
Now, David, you know the free bird rule. You know the free bird rule. Buddy came up with this years ago. Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
That's right. That's right. So June 8th, ladies and gentlemen, in Fort Worth, Texas, and we'll get that information out later on the show. the Terry Gordy Memorial Cup Battle Royal. The family of Terry Gordy's going to be there. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be in Fort Worth. Terry caused a lot of mischief and drew a lot of money in Fort Worth, so we're happy to do it. It's going to be awesome. It's just miles away from the old Will Rogers Coliseum where Terry busted up that building many nights, so it's going to be good times. So, yeah, Michael, what do you think about that? You're out in California. That's going to be right here in Texas.
As always, I'm out in California. I miss all the fun stuff, but just a few days before that, I will be in Las Vegas at the Cauliflower Hour reunion, so it kind of balances out. I'm going to be somewhere you're not. You're going to be in Texas. I think I'd rather be in Texas that weekend to see that Battle Royal, but
but you're going to be hanging out with Michael P.S. You're going to be there when Michael P.S. Hayes gets honored. So that's a big week for the Freebirds, because that week in Las Vegas at the 49th annual CAC, Michael P.S. Hayes is going to get honored. And then that Sunday, Terry Gordy Memorial Cup Battle Royal. That's going to be an awesome week for the Freebirds, let me tell you.
That's going to be a big week, and I'm hoping that I might actually be able to get an exclusive interview with Michael P.S. Hayes either before or after his induction, because we will be live on IHWE Radio from that reunion June 4th. June 4th, we will be hosting live from CAC.
We will.
So it is going to be a big week, not just for the Freebirds, but for you as well, and IHWE, man. It's going to be big. It's
going to be awesome. Well, Connie, I know you got a lot going on. Real quick, is there anything that you've wanted to say to wrestling fans? I mean, there are Facebook pages devoted to Terry Gordy still to this day, and I'm online all the time. I try to stay in tune with what's going on in the online world, but people love Terry. They love the fact that he put in every single night. I say this a lot. In 1999, Terry came down here and wrestled a guy by the name of Gary Toole. Gary was green. Terry he gave him the rub that night. And we say the rub, and I'm not trying to expose anything, but a rub is when a guy who's already been there gives that to somebody up and coming. Some guys don't do it. Some guys just come in, do their own thing. Terry came in that night, gave him the rub, gave him a really good match. Terry wanted to put out the best match every night, no matter where he was, no matter how the house did. When Terry laced up those boots, he respected the ring, he respected the art, and he cared. And there's not too many of those guys left. I think today, if Hanson was still in the business, Frank Goodish was still here, Terry was still here, and a few others, I think the business would be in a completely different place than where it is today. So, Connie, is there anything you want to say to the wrestling fans out there who love Terry Gordy?
Well, I just basically, if he was here himself, he would say thank you for all the memories, because if it wasn't for those people, that's what it's about. If he couldn't go out there and give his all every night, then it wasn't worth it to him. It's the only job he ever had. It's the only thing he ever wanted to do, and he loved it, and he loved the people, and he would interact with the people as much as he could. Anybody that's ever ran into him in a mall or at a show or anything, just walking down the street at the car wash, I remember there was people would come up to him. He never turned people away, and I always appreciated that about him, because he said, no, man, I was a fan myself. And he said, so I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like. And he says, I want to give back. I always want to give back, and he always did. So I just want to say thanks to all the fans and appreciate, the memories, and he would be so honored. He really would. And my kids enjoy it because they get to hear the stories now, and they were young and on the road part of it, and some of it they remember, some of it they don't. But thanks to people like you and, and the Hall of Fame and things like that, they're getting to see a whole other side that they didn't get to experience. So I just want to thank all the fans very much from the bottom of my heart, the whole Gordy family, the whole Gordy gang.
Well, it's indeed, it's our honor to honor Terry into the Hall of Fame. Like I said, no Hall of Fame of Texas would be complete without Terry Bam Bam Gordy, or the fabulous Freebirds. But we wanted to get Gordy in there, ASAP. I was a big fan of his. So, well, Connie, I want to thank you for coming on. I really do. We're going to get you back on here, and maybe the whole family. We can get the whole family on June 8th. The family's going to be in Fort Worth, Texas, and we'll give you all that information later on for the Terry Gordy Memorial Cup Battle Royal. Michael, do you have any closing thoughts for Connie before we let her go tonight?
Actually, I did have one closing thought, but I had one quick question if you wouldn't mind to answering it for me real fast. We asked a certain question to Bruce Hart a few weeks ago about his brother Owen, and I'm curious about your opinion on this. Do you think that the Freebirds deserve their place in the WWE Hall of Fame, and do you ever see that happening? Because the Von Erichs are there.
Well, I do look for that to happen, and I will tell you, Michael and I have had discussions about this. Basically, if Terry was here, a lot of honoring things and the big Hollywood productions and whatever, Terry would go, man, that's kind of like P.S.'s thing. That's his thing. I know what I did. Vince McMahon didn't make me. We were the Freebirds. He came to us. We were already there. And that would be what he would probably say about it. I would look for, when they come back and they have the Hall of Fame maybe at the new stadium. I think that's booked in 16, somewhere along in there.
Yeah,
I would look for it.
Yeah, 2016,
I would say it's going to happen. I would say it's going to happen then. Maybe not. But like I say, Terry has never, and he would not be one to sit and worry about that. When he went, 2 weeks ago when he went in, we went in the Hall of Fame in Texas, that's his place. That's where he wanted to retire to. That meant everything to him, his friends and family from Texas. So JR hit the nail on the head when he said what he said. And Terry would be more honored, I'd say, to be where he is today than to be in that one. Now, a lot of people couldn't maybe find that hard to believe, but that's just how he was. He was just about the people.
Well, I got to say,
it would not have been as big a deal. Some guy, man, I got to get in that Hall of Fame, that WWE one. Well, okay, maybe you get a check, maybe you get a plaque. But Terry would have said, Michael, man, that's your thing. I'd have to put on a suit, and I can't wear flip-flops. And well, buddy, how about you pick that up for me, and I'll come down next weekend when we go fishing, and I'll get that. That's just how.
And I can't see Terry wearing what Michael does. Michael wears the most outlandish suit in the Hall of Fame.
Oh no, that's exactly right. And he would get a kick out. Terry got a kick out of it. He said, "Man, I hope PS just does that from now on because it just looks right on him, but it ain't me, brother."
All right, Michael, did you have anything else?
Yes, actually I did. I just wanted to let Connie know. We've talked a couple times briefly over Facebook about the encyclopedia that I'm working on. And here in the next couple weeks, we're actually going to be putting together the Freebirds package, basically. It's another promotional package that I'm going to be able to show to people to kind of promote the book and everything. And my graphic designer is working on it now. We got some pictures. I'm working on the text for it right now and all that. And, Connie, I want to let you know that the first copy of those Freebird pages, Michael Hayes, Terry, and Buddy Roberts, I'm going to be sending them out to you because you and your daughters and all that, you're the people that your daughters especially, they're the people I'm doing this book for. So they see another side of the people in the ring and all that, so they can look back and say, this is my father, this is your grandfather. That's who I'm doing this book for. So as soon as those pages are done and we have the final copy, you're getting the first one sent to you.
Man, that's awesome. That is awesome. That is so great. I'll be sure to tell the kids. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, Connie. Well, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to see you again, June 8th. And next time you're in town, let me know. We'll get together. Get the family together. I'll bring my wife and little boy, and you bring the family. We'll get together and do dinner or something. I would love it. That sounds great. And you tell those guys that are signing up for that get tough. I want to see a good battle royal, man. All right, Connie. Thank you so much for joining us. All righty. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Connie, Gordy. I think we lost Michael. So we'll be right back with more IHWE Radio. Hopefully Michael gets back on here.
For the first time ever, the Mid-South Legends Fan Fest will take place Friday, April 4th in Charlotte, Louisiana at the Seeger Center. Don't miss Q&A with the founder of Mid-South Wrestling, Cowboy Bill Watts, with Jim Cornette, a Cajun dinner with the stars, photo ops with legends like the Midnight Express, Mr. Wrestling 2, Mr. Olympia, Kamala, and more. Oh, but there's more. In the evening, the Battle Lines Live Wrestling event will feature a JYD Memorial Cup Battle Royale honoring the late Junkyard Dog, plus the Rock and Roll Express, Bill Dundee, Tommy Dreamer, the Pope, Elijah Bird, the Masterpiece, Chris Adonis, will all be in action. Plus, Dark Journey returns to manage the Empire in a 6-man tag team match. And Mickey James will take on Angelina Love in the Squared Circle. Make your plans now to attend this once-in-a-lifetime event Friday, April 4th at the Seeger Center in Charlotte. For more information, go to MidSouthLegends.com. Be a part of Mid-South history today.
All right, Michael, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back. I keep getting hung up on, man. I don't know what happened.
Might have been me. Not intentionally. Not this time.
Okay.
I think not this time. I reiterate, not this time. All right. Huge news. Just a few moments ago, if you missed it, on June 8th at the IHWE Experience in Fort Worth, Texas, Terry Gordy Memorial Battle Royal. And Terry was just inducted into the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago. Terry's family's going to be there. This is huge, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody that knows me knows how much I am into the history and preserving. It means the world to me. So this is huge. So Sunday, June 8th, at the Sedura Center in Fort Worth, Texas, it is going to be off the chain. So make sure you're there, and we'll be giving out information shortly about tickets. And, wow, it's going to be big. I can't wait. It's going to be huge.
I'm telling you, man, they got a lot of memorials battle royals going on this year. You've got the Terry Gordy Memorial Battle Royal, who we just announced. WrestleMania has the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And if anyone was just listening to that promo we just played at the Mid-South Wrestling Fans Fest, we've got the JYD Memorial Battle Royal. The only sad thing about this is because it's a memorial, it's because these gentlemen are no longer with us.
Yeah,
which is always
you know what?
a hard pill to swallow.
It is. But you know what? There's people may say, "Oh, jumping on the bandwagon." Well, no, actually, James Beard and I were talking about this about a month and a half ago. We were just, these things come into motion, and it's something that it isn't easy to bring up to the family because it's another memorial, and it's another reminder. But it's also a celebration. It's not easy to just come up with. I have never put on anything like this before ever. I've got 16 years in this business. I've never put on any kind of memorial battle royal or any kind of memorial cut. I've never done it. This is the first time ever. I'm honored to do it. WWE's doing the Andre the Giant Memorial. That's super cool. I'm a big Andre the Giant fan. He's the reason I started watching wrestling. Mid-South Wrestling is going to have a huge JYD Memorial Battle Royal. Hey, these are the superstars that should be honored. It's really cool. We're doing it for Terry Gordy. It's going to be spectacular. Can't wait. His family's going to be there. Phenomenal. All right, Michael, is Joe calling on here soon, or are we waiting on him? Because I know you had a big spectacular this past weekend in Eureka.
Oh, we did, most definitely. There were a few little bumps in the road, as we all know about. Didn't have a ring. I had to mad scramble to find one at the last minute. But, man, once all the pieces fell into place and everything got started, it was a small crowd, man, but that crowd was loud, and they enjoyed every minute of it. And Joe will be calling in. I believe we are looking at probably about another 10 or 15 minutes, unfortunately. I thought Connie might be on a little bit longer. I wanted to give her some more time if necessary. But, yeah, he will be joining us. We're going to talk about the results of what happened last Saturday. Let everyone out there know what happened with the devil himself. Obviously, since I'm here, I'm not in jail. The devil's not in jail. Joe's not in jail. And all the buildings are still standing. So we lucked out on that one. But he should be joining us here in about the next 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll discuss that. And we also have superstar Lee Fang, I believe is the name, correct? I don't want to.
Yeah, Lee Fang's going to be joining us later. Lee has been wrestling down here in Texas for a number of years, and he also was chosen, let me reiterate, chosen to go down to NXT a couple years ago and work in WWE. So he's gained an experience working with the likes of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So we're going to talk to him about that, and he's going to make his IHWE debut on June 8th, and I cannot wait. He's one of the only, he might be the first-born Chinese wrestler ever, and he is a warrior, man. Martial artist, he is a warrior, and I can't wait to have Lee on here about, we're going to have him on here in a little bit. So it's 6:30 your time right now, Michael, right?
Yes, 6:30 my time, 8:30 your time, 9:30 somewhere.
Okay, my computer was acting up. So, all right. Well, yeah. WrestleMania is coming. It's coming in just a couple of weeks. And I read something today I thought was really cool. I like the Legends roundtables. I'm a big fan of those. I think they're really cool.
I've been watching a lot of those.
I just read where they're going to have a live roundtable Friday night before WrestleMania at Access on the network, on the WWE network.
Really?
So, yes, I just read that.
Wow.
I don't know who's going to be there, but I mean, there's going to be a plethora of Legends there for Access, so it's wide open. It should be interesting. I cannot wait to see a live Legends roundtable. That could get very interesting, especially if Nate is on there. We know what happened at the symposium, so yeah. But anybody who's not going to be at Legends of Mid-South, and if you're going to be in New Orleans that weekend, you need to be a part of Legends of Mid-South. It's going to be spectacular. IHWE champion Matt Riviera is going to be representing us I believe in the JYD Memorial Battle Royal. It's going to be a big show. Chris Adonis, Lance Hoyt, Tommy Dreamer, Elijah Burke. It's going to be, the Pope. I believe it's D'Angelo Dinero. The Pope is going to be there.
The Pope, yes.
D'Angelo Dinero. I know him as Elijah Burke. He's going to be there. Dark Journey's going to be there. And Jim Cornette's going to be there. The Rock and Roll Express. The One Man Gang. Bill Watts. It's just awesome. Full of legends of Mid-South Wrestling. But anyway, if you're not going to be in New Orleans, on Friday night there's going to be a round table as a part of Fan Access on the network, and it'll be live on the WWE network. So that should be very interesting.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see if the network's going to be able to hold up for WrestleMania. They're looking good. I haven't heard anything about any technical issues or anything recently, but, man, there's going to be a lot of people tuning into WrestleMania. This is going to be the test. We're going to see this network. This is the make it or break it for the network on this one. I'm interested in what's going to happen. I'll be watching. Watching, like I told you a couple weeks ago.
It will be. Okay, so a couple of things have transpired since the last time we were on this show about WrestleMania, and now it's going to be. We know that Daniel Bryan is going to wrestle. Triple H, and now the winner of that match is going to be inserted into the World Heavyweight title. The WWE World Heavyweight title match. Now it's a triple threat match either way, and they've gone one further. Next week on Monday Night Raw in Washington, D.C., Batista is going to go one-on-one with Randy Orton. So the match that was going to be the main event of WrestleMania is now going to be on Raw next week, just days before WrestleMania. It's been a very interesting build. In a perfect world, Daniel Bryan wins both. It's just, it's hard to get behind after so many months of, and I mean, it's, I'm going to watch it because it's WrestleMania. I want to see Brock and Undertaker, and I think that Bray Wyatt and John Cena have had a wonderful build, and the video packages have been really good. I think it's going to be really, really, really good. And but yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the whole Daniel Bryan, Triple H World Heavyweight title fiasco.
That's a good way to put it. Personally, you know my opinion. I'm a Daniel Bryan fan. I want to hear tens of thousands of fans chanting yes in New Orleans on WrestleMania Sunday. That's my opinion. I don't want to see Triple H in the main event. Triple H should be nowhere near the main event. Let him do Daniel Bryan match. Daniel Bryan wins, goes on. Do not put Triple H in the main event. Put him back in the suit. Put him back in the We all know he's going to be the new head of WWE one day when Vince decides to give up, if he ever gives up. But, you know, I don't want to see Triple H in the main event. I might want to see him a little bit more than Batista, mind you, but I don't want to see Triple H in the main event. He's won enough. He's done all he can do. He needs to let the next guys come up. They need to bring up some of those NXT guys and let them start filling in these spots for WrestleMania every year instead of, you know, Triple H and whoever else they bring back in. You know, let the new guys come in. It's great. We're going to have Hulk Hogan as the host. That's cool. He's hosting. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to stick his nose in there somewhere. You can't have WrestleMania with Hulk Hogan without seeing the 1, 2, 3 punch and the boot and whatever he does now. I don't think he does a leg drop anymore. Probably throw out a hip. But, you know, it is what it is.
That leg drop was never really good to begin. That leg drop was never really good to begin with, so I applaud it.
That was the leg drop of doom, buddy. That leg drop took out Andre. Come on, man.
Yeah. I'm reminded of that every day. But and the rematch on February 5th, 1988, and the rematch, Andre won the WWE Championship. Now, he did hand it over to the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, another Hall of Famer.
And then we met Earl.
Which was, yes, it'll go down as one of the greatest storylines, television segments in the history of professional wrestling. Unlike what we're going to talk about a little bit later. So that will not be what we talk about later. That is the opposite. That is the bizarro of what we're talking about later on.
That's right.
Chamber of Horrors. When you have to electrocute your opponent to win. Good going, Jim Herd, or whoever booked that garbage.
We could do an entire episode of Jim Herd, man. I mean,
only if we get Flair.
And the Chamber of Horrors and whatever else. And
if we get Ric Flair, yeah. I didn't have a problem with Thunderdome when Sting and Flair worked Funk and Muda. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. Yes, but if you remember,
I thought that was cool.
But Thunderdome was supposed to be an electrified cage.
Yeah.
And that theory got totally thrown out of the water within the first 3 minutes of the match.
Well, I always thought it was funny. Bob Caudle and Jim Ross are calling the action, and something happened at the beginning, and I think they were riding off the whole Mad Max thing, because I think Mad Max had just come out. So the cage is on fire. Go back and watch Halloween Havoc 1989 if you have the network. If you don't have the network, if you have the Blu-ray of the best of the WCW pay-per-view matches, Volume 1 that just came out, it's on there. It's an extra. But watch the beginning of the match. The cage is on fire. Everybody's walking up, climbing up the cage. Muda climbs up there and mist and puts the fire out. Muda, with his mist, puts out a fire at Thunderdome, Halloween Havoc 1989. Bruno Sammartino was a special guest referee that night. A little bit of trivia there.
Yep.
But I thought the match was phenomenal. And you know who else was there? Gary Hart. Another legend.
The match was great. It was the cage that was horrible.
The concept
and that fire
fell
was
a little
because
flat.
The breaker caught on fire or something beforehand.
Right.
The breaker
the concept
blew or
fell
whatever.
a little flat. Right. The concept fell a little flat. I agree.
Yeah. But we'll be discussing things like that in our second hour. You know, we'll be discussing those moments where, as I said on Facebook, you kind of scratch your head, you look at the screen, and you go, what the F was that? Did I just see? I mean, and there's a ton of them. We could do an entire show. We could do 2 hours. I'm trying to pick out some of the best or the worst.
Yeah. It's going to be spectacular. Well,
we're not talking Katie Vick. No Katie Vick.
Oh, no. Some things were so bad they just don't need to get mentioned. So, all right, we'll be right back. Hopefully, Hopefully, Joe will be on, and Michael and Joe will talk about their Saturday night showdown this past weekend in Eureka.
Rumble in the Redwoods, baby.
For IHWE Radio.
The Legends of Mid-South are back. The Mid-South Legends Fan Fest takes place Friday, April 4th in Chalmette, Louisiana at Seeger Center. Cowboy Bill Watt, Jim Cornette, and the Midnight Express, Mr. Wrestling 2, the Rock and Roll Express, and many more are slated for this once-in-a-lifetime event. You'll also see live wrestling featuring the JYD Memorial Cup, Mickie James versus Angelina Love, and a host of others. Get your tickets now. For more info, go to MidSouthLegends.com.
All right.
Mid-South.
It is Mid-South.
I want to go
big.
there.
Big business.
I miss all that stuff here in California.
All right. Recap, ladies and gentlemen. At the top of the hour, we made a huge announcement. IHWE fans in Texas, North Texas, South Texas, East, West, all points in between. June 8th is the IHW Experience in Fort Worth, Texas, at the Sendura Center off 3600 Benbrook Highway. Just announced. Hell, I'll go through and read off the list. We announced a whole bunch of matches this past weekend. Lee Fang, who's going to be our guest later on tonight, goes one-on-one with the Blackheart Seth Shai, who is a 3-time Dallas Fort Worth champion. APOC goes one-on-one with a IHWE Texas Wrestling Hall of Famer, the Prince Al-Farad. Spoiler 2000, who was on our show last week, another Texas Wrestling Hall of Famer, is going to go one-on-one with Tim Storm, who is a 2015 Texas Wrestling Hall of Famer. Main event, Mike Fox, former IHWE heavyweight champion, goes one-on-one with the cane-swinging, head-banging, laughing freak Wally Darkman. Canyon, former IHWE champion and Hall of Famer, goes one-on-one with Michael Faith, who can be seen on Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. It's going to be in a 3-way dance for the Dallas-Fort Worth title. Barrett Brown, Gregory James, and Ashton Jacobs, 3 of the hottest young stars in the Southwest, in one match for that title. The IHWE champion, Matt Riviera, will be in the house. Franco D'Angelo, the Beast, the former IHWE heavyweight champion, who battled back from a near fatal car accident, is going to be there to speak to his people in Fort Worth, his hometown. Also, the Mind of Wrestling, JT LaMotta, is going to come back to say goodbye. He's hung it up. He's retired. And if you missed it, we announced it earlier, there's going to be a Terry Gordy Memorial Battle Royal. All this Sunday, June 8th at the Sendura Center in Fort Worth. $10. That's it. 3 hours, $10, no better value. Boom. Right there.
We're still waiting on Joe to call.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Live radio, ladies and gentlemen. David and I will figure out how to fill in the blanks here. Honestly, man, I wish I could be there at that show on the 8th. Sounds like it'd be a fun time. I might be able to swing over, though, from Vegas, maybe. I don't know what Vegas to Texas is, but maybe I can talk my wife into letting me take an extra week off and swing on over.
Well, you know what's really cool is we're going to be taping parts of this show for a YouTube show that's going to start in the summer. So even if you fans in other states can't make it to Texas on June 8th, just relax, and we'll be working hard on a television show that will be on YouTube, and you can see all the action on June 8th. But if you live here in Texas, I don't care where you're at, you need to be there. All right, Mike, I think Joe is on the air, so why don't you take over, and let's take a trip back to Eureka, California this past Saturday. Tell everybody what they missed. You and Joe, take it home.
How you doing tonight, Joe?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm sure David's doing pretty good there, too. He'll join us in on this little conversation. I'm sure he has a couple questions for us. But we were talking about the show a few minutes ago, and I told everybody out in the crowd we survived. There's no medical bills. The buildings are still standing. Nobody's in jail. And the last I heard, the devil packed up, went back to Oregon, and he he fought again the next night, from what I understand. But I'm going to hand it over to you for a minute, Joe, and let's get your opinion on just how the show went, and then we'll just kind of talk about some of the matches and let everybody know what they missed.
Well, first off, I couldn't have done it without you. So I say, thank you for believing in me. And when I, said that, this, we can get this done. And sure enough, it got done. It's been a long dream to, promote a show, let alone bring a show to our hometown and to perform and promote in front of family, friends, and fans. And, excuse me, and the lineup, the matches were just awesome. The card was very solid, very strong. Every match meant something. We offered a little bit of variety to everybody. To the old school fan, we had a couple of one-on-one grudge matches. We even had a couple of specialty matches, gimmick matches, if you will. The triple threat match, we had a mixed match, opening with a battle royal. Now, that's old school Cow Palace wrestling from the 60s and 70s, and that opened with a bang. And, of course, the main event that everybody came to see, the street fight. They wanted to see exactly how this was going to go. And I'll tell you what, and they wrestled the next night. They immediately after the show, they drove, back to Portland. They had a big DOA show the next night, tore the house down as well. And I also heard that the general consensus in the locker rooms, both good guys and bad guys, babyface or heel, if you will, that they really enjoyed the crowd and the atmosphere down here. And that is a shot in the arm to us because that's what we wanted to do. And, for them to believe in us to come down and do the thing, and the fans were just adamant. They were loud. And how cool is that? It's just, I could go on for hours, but I know we're on a bit of a time schedule. But Drexel and Quiz, they tore it up. Andre the Giant was on the card. We had a couple of championship matches. We had a battle royal that decided the first ever DOA Northern California champion, and Dr. Cleaver won the battle royal. Controversial, some people will say. I'm not going to say here or there, but he won the title only to lose it about an hour later to Wade by God Hess. And Nate Andrews, he was on the card. He successfully defended the Pacific Northwest Pure Wrestling title. Gentleman George Michael, an old favorite of ours, he was on the card as well. From top to bottom, it was just a very solid card, and you really don't say that too much about too many wrestling shows, Mike.
No, and you and I have been to a few of those wrestling matches where they could be what the F moments that we could talk about on this show. We've seen Boy Scouts, we've seen I don't even want to talk about it. Now, you mentioned the Battle Royal, and you mentioned Dr. Cleaver's win and all that. I don't know if you were listening a little bit ago. We had Connie Gordy on here, and, she happened to bring up the Freebird rule. And the Freebird rule is all we all know is, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. And in that Battle Royal, that's exactly what happened. Because I was sitting ringside with you. I was presenting the belt to the champion, and with my own eyes, I saw Dr. Cleaver go over the top rope to the floor. Unfortunately, The referees did not see that. Dr. Cleaver went back in the ring. He eliminated Wade by God Hess, and he won the title. So you could say that Dr. Cleaver followed the Freebird rule on that one. Right.
Well, that, and also he's an opportunist. Like I say, in the Battle Royal, there's no rules. But shortly before that sequence, Gentleman George Michael got thrown out, and he also assisted in eliminating his arch rival Jason Sullivan. Now, while they were brawling on the outside of the ring, the referees were distracted. Wade Hess threw Cleaver over the top rope. However, the referees didn't see that because they were distracted with the brawl outside the ring. So Cleaver, climbs back in the ring. As he's pitching Hess over the top rope, the referees turn around. They see it. And as he got pitched, referees looked at me and said, "Ring the bell." And well, what can you do? You see, in all fairness to the referees can only call what they can see.
Oh, definitely. But I just thought it was kind of fun. We had Connie and Gordy in here talking about the Freebird rule, and there's an example of it right there. And we're also talking about the travels these guys did. David, I don't know how far and wide people travel to come to. You brought in people from your shows. But these guys drove about a 16-hour round trip. They came down that morning, drove down about 8 hours, worked the show. They're back in their cars and driving back that same night. They did a 16-hour road trip in the span of 24 hours. So I mean,
I'll mention this. One weekend in 1999. You love this business, and once you're in this business, you're hooked. I don't travel now. I have my baby now and my marriage, and that I don't travel anymore. But back in the day, I remember a weekend in 1999 where I went from Dallas to Oklahoma City to Tulsa to Arkansas we left Dallas, I think, on a Saturday. Went to Oklahoma, which is about 3.5 hours. Went from Oklahoma City up to Mountain Home, Arkansas, which was not like at the top of Arkansas. Then we did a show there on Saturday night, and then drove all night from Mountain Home, Arkansas, all the way down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to do a Sunday night show. From Louisiana, we came back home to Fort Worth, which was about another 8.5 hour. So that was all in one weekend. And I don't remember how much I made that weekend. God knows not enough, but did it for the love.
Well, I know how much these guys made this weekend, but we're not going to talk about that. I'm amazed by the amount of travel these guys did. And Andrea the Giant, she came here from, she drove from Salt Lake City. She was there like the night before and drove that. That's a 14-hour trip just to come here. That's just one way.
That's just one way, yeah, right, one way.
And she took $2.99, and if anybody knows, has been in this area, Joe and I have done it many times, $2.99 sucks. $2.99 is this windy, twisty, white-knuckle, grab-the-dashboard road that you turn the corner, and next thing you know, you're coming head-on with the semi-truck that's going the opposite direction, but you're side by side on this little two-lane road. And if you're lucky, you got one side that's got the mountain. If you're unlucky, you got the other side that's got to drop down to the Trinity River. You ain't got a lot of play to mess around on this road. It sucks. I hate it. And the guys from Oregon, they came down $1.99, which is just about as bad. Joe and I used to drive up to Portland every month for Portland Wrestling. Frank Culberson was running it. And I hated $1.99. I did my best to be asleep when we hit $1.99. Because you're driving, or Joe's driving, you're the passenger. You look out your window, you don't see the side of the road. You don't see a guardrail, because, there's a guardrail, but you don't really see it. You're out close. You see the 100-foot drop down to the bottom that's solid rock.
Well, in all fairness,
Humboldt County sucks.
Right. Well, in all fairness, when the guys came in, now they know what we went through every month going up to either work Portland Wrestling or the West Coast Wrestling Connection on a monthly basis every single month. So basically they knew the cross that we bear. They're kind of like, wow, you guys, this is what you did every single month on a regular basis. And so now they know. So they kind of respected that. And they had a nice trip down. They made a few stops along the way, some photos on Facebook. They had a good time, but it was all about, the building. The fans were just hot. The building was awesome. The wrestlers loved the building, and it was just one of those magical nights where everything just clicked right when, they announced the guy playing our DJ. Please introduce, Mike McCreary Joseph's Boom Boom. We went out, and that crowd just popped. I mean, basically, game on. I was at peace with myself, comfortable. Let's get this thing going. And there's fans still talking about this to this day. I mean, at my shoot job, my coworkers came up, and they're already asking, when's the next one? And I'm kind of like, wow.
We're talking about the next one. For some of the local people that might be listening to this show tonight, we were definitely plugged a few times during the show. Joe, I appreciate all the free promos you gave us in the ring there during the show. I mean, that was great. I got a chance to, wave to the crowd, and there's a few people that asked me after the show, how they can find us and all that on here on IHWE Radio, so I appreciate all that. But, we're going to see if maybe that building is interested in bringing these guys back. I don't think we scared them. I think they might have been a little unnerved by the devil, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to take a moment here real quick because I know some of the guys are listening. I got some messages from them before they came on. I want to thank each and every one of the guys who came down to work the show. I want to thank Jason Sullivan, who flew from Texas to Medford, from Medford down to here. He's from Texas. He comes up to Oregon every month to work for DOA, which is his promotion. He's one of the owners of that. But he took the time out to come down to work for us. And every one of the guys on this show were friends of ours. We've known them for years.
Yes.
So getting together for that one night, it was just like, the old NWO thing, we're getting the band back together. It was like we just saw each other yesterday. Everybody was right back to, hey, how's it going? But I want to thank them all for coming down. I'm glad they enjoyed it. They put on one hell of a show. And every fan who's come up to me in the last few days and said how much they enjoyed it, I've always thanked them and said, I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it. But I want to give the credit to the guys because they're the ones who made the memories these people are walking away with.
Oh, without a doubt.
I didn't go through a barbed wire board.
Right.
I
have to agree too. I personally want to thank everybody that made the trek down from Oregon as well as Utah to come work the show, and the San Francisco Bay Area. Gold Rush Wrestling was represented. Sparky Ballard, he, the man that runs the APW boot camp now, he came in with his crew, with his stellar crew, and they set up the ring and top-notch stuff. The ring was solid, good to go. Sparky refereed quite a few matches, including the devastating main event. But yeah, just like yourself, a personal, thanks to everybody that came in, and especially to Jason Sullivan, who made the probably the biggest trek, from Texas to Medford or Portland and driving down here and, getting the ball rolling on that. And our hats go off to him, and we really appreciate it.
Most definitely. But now, Joe, I want to take a few minutes here. This is the one I want to talk about because a few weeks ago, thanks to David, and I owe him for that one, the devil himself, Derek Drexel, was a guest on our show.
Yep.
Or he took over our show, you could say that for a few minutes. And he made a few promises. One of his promises was that we should have an ambulance ready and that we should, that Humboldt County will burn in a cloud of smoke. I remember that one. And that somebody will be leaving in an ambulance. Well, now nobody left in an ambulance. Nobody, thankfully, ended their career. The building is still standing. But he did make one promise. He said that he was bringing a kiddie pool full of barbed wire, and I'll be damned, but we saw a kiddie pool full of barbed wire. We also saw a folding chair in barbed wire. We saw a kendo stick. We saw thumbtacks. We saw a barbed wire board. We saw Derek go through 3 rows of chairs. That was less than 2 feet away from me, I might add.
Right.
They fought into the bleachers. One of them ended up in a trash can at one point. These two tore it up. People are coming up to me and just saying that was one of the craziest things they've ever seen. And I'm going to let everyone know, listening to the show, who tuned in a few weeks ago, anybody living here locally who didn't maybe make it to the show, as we stated, everything's still standing. HBQ Quiz defeated the devil. So April 30th, the devil will be joining us here on IHWE Radio. And we'll bring this up, but I am proud to say, or happy to say, that the devil did not make good on some of his promises, but that was one hell of a match that they put on. I mean, people are still talking about it. I had a lady come up to me the morning after I was getting breakfast, I'm sitting at the counter at the local restaurant. I got my baby in my lap with me. And she came up and she was like, I saw you at the show last night. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I was there. Thank you for coming. And she's like, I have a question, though. And I'm like, oh, what's that? The man that went into the barbed wire at the end of the match, is he okay? Well, we had him checked out, and he's fine. And got some cuts, got some scrapes and all that. But we had a lady come up and ask me if the devil was okay. That's how much the fans got into this match. She wanted to know if the devil was all right. She didn't ask
Well, not only that, it's just that, there are people that question professional wrestling or what have you, and you need to see it live, live at ringside. And what the fans saw, there was no props or no anything. It was just a sure nasty brawl they had at the very end, and the fans were in awe. They were overwhelmed. They were satisfied. Just a combination of all sorts of things. But one thing they all agreed on, they enjoyed the entire evening. And the question does keep coming up: when is this going to happen again? And we don't know. We'll just have to see what happens in the coming weeks and months to come. And for those of you that are listening in the northwestern part of the state, Humboldt County, just keep listening to the show and just keep watching wrestling on TV for advertisements or what have you. We'll let you know.
Oh, most definitely. I'll keep everybody apprised of what's going on. We might see a show here. I'm thinking maybe an annual event, but we got to talk to the powers that be, see what they think, see if maybe we can work out. I know the guys want to come back, so we will definitely keep everybody apprised of what's happening here in Humboldt County, and who knows? We might see the devil back here again. Like I said, he's going to be here April 30th, so I'm going to ask him if he's willing to come back to Humboldt County and what he thought. We'll get his opinions on the match, and Joe, maybe you can call in that night, and you'll get a chance to talk to the devil himself again. We'll see what he had to say about last Saturday night.
I will tread the water very carefully, because if you remember the last time he was on the radio, he said some things that kind of got me a little shaken up about, insurance rates and, cover your kids' eyeballs and what have you. And you saw what happened when I introduced him into the ring for him to cut his promo. First thing he said off his mouth was, Joe Sousa, you're the most stupidest person I've ever known, because you called me to come in and be the main event, and he started talking about, insurance rates going up, and I was shaking in my boots at that time.
Well, yeah, he definitely does have a flair for, the words and all that. Definitely a mesmerizing character to watch in the ring. You definitely kind of get pulled into what he's got to say and all that, but it all worked out. And on April 30th, I'm hoping he'll be on his best behavior. I do have a mute button. I can cut him off at any time if I need to.
Careful with that.
Yes, he does. He does know where I'm at now, unfortunately.
Right.
But anyways, okay, we got somebody popped up here. Anyway, Joe, you got any final words, any last things you want to add before we just kind of wrap this up in a tidy little bow for the night?
Well, like I said, it was a dream come true for us to actually promote a show from the ground up, and I thank everybody, the fans that came, that enjoyed it. My wife came in, she ran the box office, and my kids, they ran the gimmick table, they videotaped, and and especially the wrestlers, all the stars from up and down the West Coast that came in and busted their ass for us, and they put on one hell of a show that, we're not going to forget, and obviously the fans here will not forget either.
I agree. In a strange way, it was definitely a family affair. I mean, the wrestlers, they're like family to us. I mean,
yes, they are.
Well, all wrestlers are family. We're all brothers in this business, unfortunately.
Cap.
you know how it goes, so
right.
I appreciate all the efforts the guys put in. I appreciate all the effort that, your family put in. And, Joe, I will say right now, live on radio, I thought you were nuttier than a fruitcake when you said you wanted to do this from the ground up, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I've known you, and, you know, you say you're going to do something, you want to do it, you're going to do it. So I was proud to be able to help out and give you a chance. It's documented. You and David know I did kind of have a little bit of a, breakdown there for a minute. In fact, I was just about ready to say I was done. I will admit it. It's a stressful job. You pulled it off, and in the end, we had a great show. I mean,
yes, we
once
did.
It started, I was having a great time. I'm glad I was able to work with you on this one. Maybe we'll do it again. If not, I will be perfectly happy to sit here behind the mic and host this radio show. But as far as the promoter goes, I've tried it. I don't know if I'll ever try it again. I'll help.
Right. Well put, my friend, well put.
All right, Joe, thanks for joining us, man, and feel free to call in anytime. And on May 7th, just let everyone know, you will be joining us for a special Portland Wrestling tribute episode that night. It'll be you, Mike Rogers from Ring Around the Northwest, Jason Sullivan, who was one of the wrestlers on our, as well as his opponent that night. Gentleman George Michael will be joining us for a roundtable discussion on the history of Portland wrestling from Don Owens up through Frank Culbertson up to Portland Wrestling Uncut and just wrestling in the Pacific Northwest in general. It's going to be a good show, and I look forward to talking to you then.
Okay, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good one,
night,
Joe. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
And now
All right.
back to IHWE Radio.
And we'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Are you there, Michael?
I'm right here, man, as always.
Okay, which one is Joe's number? Is it 822?
Joe's gone
407?
now.
Well, it's still...
No, 407.
Hold on. 407 is you. I had to refresh my studio. Oh, it's asking me to log in. Okay.
Oh, sorry about that, man.
Wow.
Joe and I kind of ran our gums a little too long.
That's all right. Any idea who this 281 area code is? It's not Lee Fang.
I don't know, but we can find out.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's do it.
Go ahead.
All right. 281-662. You are on the air with IHWE Radio.
Good evening,
Hello?
Mr. Fuller.
Good evening. Who is this?
This is Chris Gary at Fever Keeps It Real.
Oh, hey, what's up, man?
And nothing much, sir. I just wanted to ask, how did you feel about that little Hall of Fame ceremony? I mean, how did Derek feel about that Hall of Fame ceremony, really? Derek King?
How did he feel about it?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I suppose he liked it. I haven't talked to him since then.
And I understand that. But when it comes down to professional wrestling, especially up in North Texas nowadays, when it comes down to that, what promotion do you see basically catching your eye a bit?
Well, there's not a whole lot going on up here in North Texas. Obviously, what IHWE is doing is cool. NWA has got a lot of good stuff going on. I know NWA Texoma up in North Texas has got pretty consistent things going on. Killer Tim Brooks, NAWA, has got some stuff going on. Not a whole lot going up here. South Texas is where it's at. They got a lot more shows. RCW, NWA, ACW, Inspire Pro, and then down where Galveston, where you guys are at, obviously Derek's got some good stuff going on. So, I can't really push out one particular organization that I watch. I had my favorites and my friends, and I kind of keep an eye on what they're doing. If people want to come see a show, you've got several you choose from. If you want to go see a show in Sherman, you go to Texoma. If you want to see a show and you're in the Waxahachie area, you go see NAWA. if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Nothing's coming up right now, but IHWE is going to be coming up in Fort Worth. There is a show called MPX. It runs pretty consistently. They're up here and out of Bedford. So it just really depends on what people are out there looking for.
Right. But then again, even though I know we talked about this on Fever Keeps It Real, I think a couple of weeks back, about a New York and Texas crossover event, I was kind of thinking about the same thing, only be like North Texas versus South Texas, you know?
People have tried that for years, and it's just, for whatever reason, it's just never come about. We're going to have a battle royal on June 8th for Terry Gordy, and we're going to have wrestlers from all over Texas and all over the country. So we may see a little bit of that on June 8th here in Fort Worth, and I know there's going to be a battle royal as a part of the Coastal Mania in Galveston the following month.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there'll be some North Texas versus South Texas up here in June, and some North Texas versus South Texas down there in July. Maybe fans in both areas can see two different battles.
Yep.
So,
but
well, Derek, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One more thing I want to ask before I decide to plug my show that I'm a part of.
Okay.
And that is,
not a problem.
When it comes down to WrestleMania 30, which is that big show that's going to be happening April 6th in New Orleans, what match do you see will probably be the best and worst on the card so far?
I don't know what the worst match will be. I don't know what the worst match will be. I try not to look at that. I think everybody's going to go in there and really try hard. Sometimes things just don't mesh. I think the best match, if I had to take a guess, I think it's going to be the Daniel Bryan scenario, the situation he's in. I think Daniel brings the best out of everybody he's in the ring with. I think him and Triple H have got a really fueled up rivalry. I think that's going to be good. I don't know what the worst match could be. I think that Outlaws and Kane versus the Shield is not something that the Shield is normally used to. I don't know. Michael, what do you think is the best and worst match at WrestleMania coming up?
I'm going to go with the worst match right now, and I'm just going to say it flat out. Vicky Guerrero announced it the other day. The Divas Invitational for the women's title is going to have the title of the biggest stinker on the show. They're throwing a bunch of women in the ring, one pinfall. It's not a battle royal, it's one pinfall. They're going to have a bunch of women in there just doing whatever, and then someone's going to pin somebody. AJ doesn't even have to be pinned to lose the title.
You know what? Do y'all think that they should have just gone with a gauntlet format, like have one person basically try her best to wipe out the entire Diva roster, and if they do that, they get to face off against AJ Lee last for the Divas title immediately after they conquered the gauntlet?
Or do the pre-show battle royal where you have the women wrestle in a battle royal before the actual pay-per-view, that pre-show match, the winner faces AJ. AJ versus Tamina, they're setting that up. This invitational thing is going to be horrible. Now, best
match. All right, Michael,
exactly.
What's the best match?
Best match is not going to be Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. That's going to be a great match. The best match, in my opinion, is Cena versus Bray Wyatt. I think that is going to be the one that surprises everybody. Cena versus Bray Wyatt is my pick for the best match of WrestleMania. I think that's the one that's going to steal the show. I think people are going to be surprised by what Bray Wyatt's going to be able to pull off.
And you know what? When it comes down to it, I think the only reason why that might be the best match on the card is because if you think about Monday night and how all of a sudden they had Cena basically scared crapless, you know. They had Cena scared out of his shoes with the sheet mask as John was looking over the mirror, and how he was all in the middle of a match with Luke Harper, and then all of a sudden, then the lights go out, and Cena gets a sheet mask put on him. Now, even though I think that was the most edgiest thing they done, I think that just sets up the fact that Cena is going to have a challenge on his hands against Bray Wyatt in New Orleans.
It's going to be very interesting. All right, Christian, go ahead and let everybody know where they can listen to Fever Keeps It Real. I was a guest on there a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to be a guest on there sometime soon. And let everybody know where they can listen to it and when.
Okay. For those of y'all, I don't care where y'all are in the Texas state region, or even if y'all live in Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, or Louisiana, y'all can feel free to call in to Fever Keeps It Real tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific for everybody else, on blogtalkradio.com/Fever Keeps It Real. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Fever Keeps It Real. Follow us on Twitter at Fever Is Real. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Fever Keeps It Real, and check out feverkeepsitreal.com, because I guarantee you, you will not be left unsatisfied. Until then, thank y'all for having me on. I'm pretty sure it was a fun experience for me.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. Thank you.
Feel free to have me on sometime, man. I'll come on and talk with you.
All right, but the invitation is open. You can call in tomorrow night if you want.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
Oh, by the way,
okay, sounds good.
Real quick, 1-818-369-1406. That is it. Thank y'all for letting me on. I am done.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Christian for Fever Keeps It Real. I believe we are joined by our next guest, and he's a warrior. He's not just a wrestler. He has spent a number of years on the Texas circuit, and like I said, he was chosen to have an experience down in Florida, and that's really cool, and I want to talk to him about that tonight. Lee Fang, are you on the air, sir?
Yes, sir, David Ford. I'm here, sir. How's it going?
It's going good. Michael, say hello to Lee Fang.
How you doing tonight, man? Good to hear from you.
I'm good. How about you, Michael?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying tonight's show. Was interested in listening to having you on as a guest tonight. Got a little bit of your background history, so I think I'm going to kind of hand the ball over to David on this one for a minute, but you'll hear from me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Lee Fang has been on the Texas circuit for a number of years. Lee, if I say something that's wrong, just go ahead and correct me. You're trained by Lance Hoyt. Lance is a superstar over in Japan. He's worked for every big major promotion, and he's still cracking skulls over in Japan. Lance is one of the better big men that's come through the ranks in a number of years. Lee has pretty much wrestled all over the state of Texas, and he's going to make his IHWE debut on June 8th. I'm really excited about it. He's going to go one-on-one with Seth Shahid. I really think that's going to be a super cool match. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. But Lee, you had an experience. You were chosen to have an experience, a learning experience out in Florida. You were chosen for it. It's not something that you just decided to do one day. So, I mean, tell us about, as much as you would like, what did you experience? What was it like down there? I know this was before the Performance Center was introduced. I think it was still Florida Championship Wrestling. You had to work with, like, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which, for guys like us, that's as good as it gets right there. Share with us what experience you would like from that learning experience that you got.
Okay. First of all, it was a real honor to be down there, to be training under the guys like Norman Smiley, Ricky the Dragon was there too. Dr. Tom Pritchard, just a great number of guys. It just opened your eyes so much more to see the business. I mean, you can get trained just about anywhere, but these guys will teach you things, show you things that no one else really can. And whether you like it or you don't like it, you will take something from it.
Right. Okay. So you're okay. So I mean, there's obviously a style difference. A lot of people don't understand like how different the WWE style is to just professional wrestling. You know how? I mean, is there any way you can put into words like the difference? I mean, you know, like there, it's all about television, it's all about presentation, it's all about where you are and what camera you're facing. Everything with them is television. Even when they're training you to do arena shows, they're training you for television. So I mean, yes. But you started in an organization, PCW, that had television. And I think PCW was really far along as far as the independents go around here. They had an interesting building. They had interesting presentation. So, I mean, how different was it for you to go down there? And it happens to everybody that goes down there, and I've heard this over the years from so many different people, so many people that have been on the independent scene. They've gone to Japan. They've worked. But when you go down there, it is a completely different ball game. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it's actually true. Like, if you go down there, basically you just have to have an open mind because it's not just about what you can do. It's all about how you look, how you act, how you present yourself. It's everything. You are judged by every little thing that you do in and outside the ring. It's truly a business atmosphere. It's all about the business. It's not about you. It's all about the business aspect of it. And you will learn how to do great promos with Dusty Rhodes. Norman can show you different things to do in the ring. I feel like he's probably one of the most underrated coaches that they actually have. And they have so many solid minds there that as long as you open up your mouth to ask questions and then you just sit back and, listen, you can take so much from it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that was great. And that's what a lot of people, you were chosen and you got to experience that. Return home to Texas, and you've been kicking tail and taking names since then. Michael, did you have a question for Lee?
Unfortunately, I was out of the studio there for a minute, so I wasn't catching on some of it. You did say that, I believe in the past, you referred to it that he was with NXT for a little bit. He actually got brought up. You got called up by them, right? Or did you go and try out? How did that work?
He was chosen.
Actually,
he was chosen.
Here's
he was
the
chosen.
funny thing about this. This is I would say this is probably one of the most funny things was I actually got a unnamed caller that called my phone. Now, if I don't know you and you call my phone, chances are I am probably just not going to answer you. Well, they left me a message, and I was like, who is this? I didn't really worry about it, And then when I finally got over to it, it was Ty Bailey that had called and said, hey, I am so-and-so. I work for the WWE, and I need to have a word with you. So I didn't really speak. I didn't think too much of it at that time because I was like, all right, who is playing a prank on me? This is not funny. So I kind of just erased the message. I really did. I erased the message. I was like, you know what, this is some kind of prank. I'm not going to worry about it. Well, maybe like a couple of days later, he actually called once again, and I decided to answer it, and it was him. And I did a little Googling, and it said that he does work for them, and I had a nice little chat with him, and he offered me a developmental contract to at the time FCW.
What's amazing about that is, Michael, is Lee never went there. A lot of times they would have open tryouts. Lee never went there. As far as I know, Lee had never gone down to Orlando. They found Lee on the independents, which, okay, the message I'm trying to get out to you, to everybody, no matter where you're working, because Lee was chosen, wherever you're working, if you're ever wrestling somewhere, you need to put out the best product that you can, because if it ends up online, somebody's watching. Maybe now more than ever because they have the Performance Center and they have so many people under contract. Lee was, picked, and they called him. So, as far as I know, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember you ever going down there, and saying, hey, I want a job here. They called you. And, so that's remarkable.
Yeah, but I don't want people that think that, well, hey, they call you. I just feel like I just want to be honest. The reason why they called me at the time was they were searching for a Chinese wrestler. That's the honest, truth. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. It's just they wanted a Chinese wrestler at that time, because he told me on the phone that they've been searching for one for a long time now, and they couldn't find one, and they finally got a hold of me, and that's the truth about it. I'm not going to hide that fact.
Right. But, still, the fact is you got that opportunity, you went down, and you made the most of it and learned a lot and brought it back. And you try to share it with everybody that you get around and you're in the ring with, and I think that's really admirable. Well, June 8th, for so many years we've never worked with each other. Well, June 8th you're going to come into Fort Worth, and you're going to wrestle for IHWE, which is really cool. I'm really excited about having you on the show. You're going to step in the ring with Seth Shai, and you and Seth, I think you two have battled as you have. It's been a long time. So, I'm really looking forward to this match. What are you looking for as far as what's your goal in IHWE? What do you want to, what's the end game for you?
I just want to do what I do best. I want to go out there and I want to have the best match. It's all about going out there and having the fans feel like they better not miss this show. And like once they leave, I want them to think back about how great this match was. And I've known Seshai for years. I've never had a match with him, but I've been in the same locker room with him for many, many years. So he's actually on my bucket list. So I'm really looking forward to going toe-to-toe with him.
In the conversation I had with Seth a few weeks ago, I told him, I said, it's going to be you and Lee Fang one-on-one. And Seth was like, oh, okay. Got my work cut out for me. So there's a mutual respect there. But, you two are going to be jockeying for position. It's going to be a big night. There's going to be a lot of eyes on everybody. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be really big, and that's going to be on June 8th at the Sendera Center in Fort Worth, Texas. It's going to be awesome. You were at the Hall of
Show.
Yes. You attended the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago. What were your thoughts?
I just want to say, wow. Okay, that's like my first word. It's like, wow. I just want to first tip my hat off to David Fuller for putting on a tremendous event to honor those guys that have paved the ways for guys like myself to get in the business. To see them get the recognition that they deserve was really awesome, and for me to witness it, it was just I'm at a loss for words. It was a great event, and I saw a lot of old faces that I haven't seen in years, and I'm looking forward to next year's, to be honest.
Yes, and you're welcome anytime, Lee. You and your family are very welcome. It was nice to sit down with you and have a little conversation. I never get to talk to everybody that I want to at these things. I'm always being, you think of as much as I'm jugging around, I'd be taller, but I'm not. So, well, all right, Lee, is there anything you want to say to the IHWE fans about, is there anything you want to say to them?
I just want to say that this has been years and years in the making. I always heard great things about IHWE, and I'm ready to make my mark. June the 8th, be ready. It's going to be a fight, and you don't want to miss Sousa and myself. I guarantee it. See you guys there.
Two Warriors are going to mix it up on June 8th, ladies and gentlemen. Lee, we'll have you back on as it gets closer to the show. Thank you for joining us. Have a good one, buddy.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one too, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Lee Fang, the Chinese Warrior, going to step into the ring on June 8th with Sousa live in Fort Worth, Texas. And all right, Michael, this was all your idea, so why don't you introduce this next segment? Are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm right here. Sorry,
right.
I keep coming
this
in
is
and out.
Baby.
It's the wonders of. This is my baby. I thought it would be a fun idea. We talked about, each week or every few weeks or whatever, we're going to discuss a pay-per-view. But I also thought it'd be kind of fun to sit back. You and I, we're two fairly intelligent guys. I think we've kind of been around this business for. Well, you've at least been around it for 16 years. I've been plugging around doing my stuff about the last probably 20. So, we've got some knowledge of the business and all that. So I thought it might be kind of fun to sit back, talk a little about some of our favorite moments. I mean, it's not always going to be the comical stuff, but it's going to be some a little lighthearted. And tonight I thought about we need to discuss some of them moments where you kind of look at the TV a little bit and you kind of wondered, what did I just see? What the hell was that? We call them WTF moments. You know what I'm talking about, people. We've all seen them. We all have our favorites. I'm going to come off. I've talked to David about this before. My personal favorite is the Shockmaster. We've talked about Shockmaster in the past. That's my personal favorite. If WCW ever made a Shockmaster T-shirt, I would have wore it. If WWE ever brings back an Elite Collection Shockmaster figure, I will buy that figure. It will display on my shelf.
Barbershop Window or Pro Wrestling Cheese, one of those, I think they have a Shockmaster shirt. So,
I gotta find that. I would wear that shirt. I would wear that shirt to Cauliflower Alley.
No, you'll be wearing an IHWE polo.
Well, at nighttime when I'm down at the bar, I might wear the Shockmaster shirt to impress the ladies,
Oh,
they might
impress the ladies. Yeah.
Well, as much you're going to he didn't impress anybody else.
They might be impressed with your shirt until they keep looking up. So.
Well, I'm going to wear the helmet, too.
Yeah,
talking that deep voice, Hello.
Yeah.
I'm very mysterious. Because you've got to have that deep, growly voice, Maybe I can get Ole to come to Cauliflower Alley.
Just get Ole. Yeah, call Ole and see. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Wow, this is out of control. The segment's already out of control. It's dying already. Okay, well, all right. Okay. All right.
You got one, David. There's got to be something back there. You've been thinking about this for a few days. There's something back there in the recesses of your mind. There's that one moment, Mae Young giving birth to a hand. Or Gobbledygooker. I don't know. I mean, you were young back then.
I think the moment that sticks out in my head, well, one of them, there's been several over the years, as you've said. The WCW, how did you know I was going to start out with those three letters? WCW, yeah. Well, WCW had a match in October of 1995 with Hulk Hogan and the Big Show, the Giant. And they did the monster truck thing on top of Cobo Hall, and they fought outside of the monster truck on top of Cobo Hall. Hogan knocks the Big Show off the top of Cobo Hall. We're supposed to think perception is that the Big Show's died on live pay-per-view. We never get an explanation. And then I think 20 or 30 minutes later, he shows up, scathed, and goes,
20 minutes with Hollywood Hulk Hogan and wins the WCW title. And then the Yeti comes in, and they proceed to have the worst-looking double-team bear hug I've ever seen in my life. But somebody thought this was a good idea. And, it wasn't. It wasn't. Another moment. Undertaker pulling the concrete gimmick on Paul Bearer. No. That's all I can say. Just moments that didn't make any sense.
Did the Giant, as he was back then, did he actually win the title that night?
Yes.
I never remember the end of the match. Because he actually won the title from Ric Flair on Nitro like 8 months later. I know that.
Yeah, that's
I didn't remember if he won the title at Halloween Havoc.
He won the title because Jimmy Hart turned heel on Hogan that night, and Jimmy Hart sneaked it into the contract that the title could change hands on a disqualification, and Jimmy Hart got Hogan intentionally disqualified.
There we go. I remember disqualification. Okay, that shows how much I cared about it.
That snake in the grass, Jimmy Hart getting all that lipstick on the belt. Put the screws to Hollywood Hogan. Okay, the Hardcore Invitational. When WCW had a battle royal in a junkyard, I believe at Bash at the Beach 1999, and all I remember is the count of injuries that came from that match. I remember reading about so many injuries.
Like stitches and...
Yeah, broken bones, because you had a match in a junkyard. People were taking bumps in a junkyard, and they didn't gimmick it up. They just rented a local junkyard. The whole Vampiro Sting thing with the New Blood and the Millionaires Club was stupid. I thought the whole rivalry was stupid.
The only thing I liked about that was the match where you had to set your opponent on fire. I kind of like that one, actually.
So the Inferno match?
The Inferno match, yeah, that one. I thought that was interesting, where he takes the little torch thing and he's pointing at him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was at Bash at the Beach 2000, but nobody remembers that because that's the night that Hogan and Jarrett and Russo had their thing. So nobody remembers that. Nobody remembers anything else from that night. Let's take the ship off WCW for a minute. Let's go to WWE.
They have plenty too,
Yeah, there's plenty there. Just the Gobbledygooker, Mantar, Friar Ferguson, Bastion Booger.
There was one that got brought up to me. Somebody sent me a Facebook message. They were talking WWE, and it was one of the moments that they kind of went, "What the hell?" But it was the Royal Rumble. Can't remember exactly what year it was per se, but it was the Yokozuna Undertaker casket match,
1994 in Providence, Rhode Island.
The one where 20 freaking guys came down and piled on top of the casket.
Yes.
And they wheel it back, and then there's the big lightning fixer, and then all of a sudden the Undertaker's on the Titantron, his eyes open, he starts talking.
Right.
And then he rises above the Titantron.
Yes.
And goes to the heavens or whatever. Well, they mentioned the match was great. It got ruined by this. And I remember watching that and thinking, what the hell? And he rises up past the Titantron. It's obviously not, well, we all know it's not The Undertaker, but they got some guy in a suit on cables being lifted up out of the Titantron. But first he was like this little drawing of electricity on the screen that or the coffin explodes, and there's like an electrical drawing of the Undertaker on the Titantron, and he rises up into the heavens, and that was what somebody messaged me on Facebook about, because it also had a part 2, which was when the Undertaker returned. Now, that was the beginning of that whole Undertaker under Faker thing, where you had Brian Lee as the Undertaker.
Yes.
And that's another thing we can talk about. But what they brought up was the rematch that Yokozuna and Undertaker had. It was another casket match at Survivor Series, where they have Chuck Norris as the special guest ring enforcer in case anybody tries to interfere, Chuck Norris will take him out. And the one thing you remember is Chuck Norris super kicked Jeff Jarrett, and he did this, straight up on his head and flipped over. Yeah. And they brought that one up because not only was it a what the hell moment at the Rumble, it had a part 2. When they had Chuck Norris, nothing would stand there the entire time.
It was the whole year. If you look at it, it was the Royal Rumble, and then it was SummerSlam, and then it was the Survivor Series. So it was actually the whole year. So they've had some over the years.
Forget, that was Leslie Nielsen as the detective trying to solve the mystery.
Yeah, that was the coolest part. That was the coolest part about it. That was the coolest part about it.
Leslie Nielsen. Yeah, the guy at the deli. That was the one I remember.
George Kennedy and Leslie Nielsen. Anytime they got together, it was gold.
But they had the guy at the deli that was. I was making a sandwich, and when I turned around to get his pickle, and when I turned around, he was gone. Because the Undertaker just happened to wander into a deli in New York and order a sandwich and wanted a pickle.
And then in the jewelry store, the 3 elegantly dressed ladies who work at the jewelry store all knew it was the Undertaker. And not that many women watched wrestling then, so that was BS.
Exactly, but it was the search for the Undertaker. They
were like, the Undertaker was here. They're like, oh, the Undertaker. They don't know who the Undertaker is. So, I remember when McMahon was given away. Oh, when McMahon got blown up. Of course, we bring that up, and that happens to surround one of the darkest days in not only wrestling but just humanity. So I don't want to go into too much detail. But to begin with, the whole McMahon getting blown up was, I think, stupid to begin with, and that's where we'll leave it because it got brought out because of a real life situation, and we're not going to delve into on this show.
No.
I mean, did ECW ever have any WTF moments?
Somebody brought one up that I thought was kind of funny because it wasn't a what the fuck moment. It was more like trying to figure out the storyline. Was if anybody remembers ECW, we all know that Devon and Bubba Ray, the Dudleys, I mean, one of the greatest tag teams in wrestling, obviously. I mean, those guys won how many titles? I mean, they were great. And then you had little Spike Dudley, who was another one. But what they brought up was people kind of forget, there was a whole Dudley family. And the storyline of the Dudley family was that Daddy Dudley had relations with random women. So you had dances with Dudley because he had sex with a woman at the Indian reservation. And you had Dudley because Daddy Dudley supposedly had relations with another member of his family. But every guy had a story of why, like Devon was black because Daddy Dudley had a little fling with a black woman, and Bubba Ray, his mama wasn't the brightest thing. Everybody had a story as to why Dudley was that way.
Sounds like when McMahon came back and Hornswoggle was his illegitimate son. Sounded like the whole build up to that.
I had forgot about that, actually. But, every Dudley had a backstory. Yeah. And even Bubba, who turned out to be one of the, I mean, in my opinion, one of the best hardcore guys out there. I mean, he's a great wrestler, actually. But his gimmick was to come out and try to say his name and just go, boop, 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 and then Devon would smack him in the back of the head, and he would say, boopa.
Yeah.
So the Dudleys was kind of a what the hell, but it actually morphed into something cool. You know?
Yeah.
I told you we could do a segment called Many Faces of Kane because, good Lord, it was Isaac Yankem, the demented
and Diesel. Unabomber.
And Fake Diesel and the Unabomber and all these others, and then he became the, well, I ain't going to say the guy we all know and love now because I hate corporate Kane, but, you know.
Oh, that's funny.
And even Kane has a WTF moment. Well, he has a few, actually. Like the voice box was kind of weird. But remember, he had a feud with Shane McMahon, which is a great feud. Shane McMahon, when he had to, got out there and he tore it up when it came down to it. The guy did some insane stuff in the ring. But one of the things I remember about him and Kane having the feud was when he got handcuffed to the ring post, and Kane came out with the car battery, and attached the clamp to it and basically electrocuted his testicles.
Right.
You know, or Val Venus, of course, you know. Val Venus, when we first met Kai and Tai, you know, he was sleeping with, who was he?
This is the Yamaguchi.
Mama Yamaguchi, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yamaguchi-san, he was sleeping with Mama Yamaguchi, and we see Val Venus tied up. Choppy your pee.
Yeah. Okay, this segment has died.
This segment is fun, man.
This segment has died. All right, well we're gonna recap what we've learned tonight, and then we're gonna say goodnight. So at the top of the show, Connie Gordy came on, shared some stories about Terry, which was really cool. The Gordy family's awesome. They were inducted into the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame, Terry was. And on June 8th, there's going to be a Terry Gordy Memorial Battle Royal in Fort Worth as a part of the IHWE experience. And Connie did say this to whoever the superstars, the participants are going to be in that Battle Royal, make sure you train. Make sure you train and get ready for that. So that happened. Joe Sousa and you were on, and y'all are going to be hopefully making a return to Eureka with another live event. We're going to have the Devil himself, Drexler, on at the end of April. And hopefully Eureka will get an encore of what you guys put out on Saturday. Lee Fang was on here, and he was talking about going head-to-head with Seshai on June 8th. That's the first-time matchup. That should be awesome. So June 8th, IHW Experience in Fort Worth. Michael, I'm going to let you have the floor before we close tonight's episode. I know you had something very special you wanted to say, so the floor is yours.
Yes, I did. And I will say, first off, to all the fans out there, maybe my What the F segment was a little weird, but I wanted to have a little fun with it, you know. David and I, we chat back and forth online a lot. So I thought it'd be kind of fun just to him and I have a chance to just BS about this, but we'll come back with some new segments, you know, later on, a little bit more planned out, a little more, you know, but this was fun. But I did want to say something. Last week I was out of town. I wasn't on the show. My wife and I were celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary. And it's a happy occasion, obviously. I mean, I love my wife, and I had a great time. Beautiful weather. It was, you know, for the first time in 5 years, it didn't rain. But unfortunately, when the anniversary comes up, I have to be reminded that 1 week later, my father passed. And he was there at the wedding. And in my mother's opinion, the only reason why he stayed around was for the wedding. Because my father had triple bypass surgery back in 2006, right before I was supposed to go to Cauliflower Alley for the first year. And he just never recovered from it, really. I mean, he just kind of, I hate to say it, but in some aspects he just kind of gave up. You know, he was a truck driver. He drove log truck he was like 18 years old. And all my life I grew up in a logging industry. My dad was a truck driver, you know. And we lived in a mill town, and, you know, that's what he did. And he kind of, that was the end. He gave up. He was there. And I went to see him and visit him at home every week, you know, we talked, but he just wasn't the same anymore. But my father supported my interest in wrestling. I say interest then. Now, I mean, obviously it's an obsession. It's the passion. I have the sickness, as they call it. I love this business. I love everything about it. I got a chance to promote last week. It wasn't something I enjoyed that much and may never do again, but it was something I had to try. And he always supported it. And in 1995, I got my first job writing for a newsletter, Inside Ringside. Bobby Rydell ran this newsletter. The old snail mail type ones, you know, got mailed out, 25-cent stamp. And I wrote pay-per-view reviews. And I was 22 when I got the job. And it didn't pay anything. But I went out and I told my dad, I said, hey, I'm going to be writing pay-per-view reviews for this newsletter. And my father, you would have thought I was writing a cover story for the new issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. because he thought it was great. If I could have made money doing all this, he would have said, go ahead, quit your job, make your money doing this. He supported everything I did. And in 2006, when I went to my first Cauliflower Alley reunion, he was in the hospital, and then he was at the rehab center. And he got out just a few days before I left. And when I came back, I brought in my pictures, and he looked at all the photos with me, and he knew some of the guys, Nick Bockwinkel. He recognized Larry the Axe Hennig. He knew some of the guys. My dad watched it. You know, he wasn't obsessed with it as I was, but he watched it. He had a story that I would love to tell someday. I'm not going to get into it now. But he was always interested in what I did. And unfortunately, he passed, as I said, March 28, 2009. Be 5 years now on Friday. And he passed just before I came up with the concept that was going to be, eventually turn out to be Encyclopedia WCCW. So he never knew that I was going to be, he never knew I was working on a book. I was working on projects in the past, but they all fell through. He supported every one of them, as I said, but he never knew about this one. And unfortunately, due to his passing, he also never knew that we were going to have, my wife and I were going to have a baby. So he's never seen my kids. And he's just, I mean, the last 5 years have been my most successful, and he hasn't been here for them. And I know that he's listening to this show. Somewhere he's listening. We have a caller every night. He's listening. And when the book comes out, I know he's going to know that the book is out. And last Saturday, right before our show started, and they were playing the national anthem. Every time they play the national anthem now, I look upward, because my father raised me to respect the national anthem, so I always look up. And I knew that he was there to see this show. And it's a tough one. Like I said, every anniversary I have to know that it's been that many years since my father passed. And I just wanted to take a chance right now while I have a live mic now, and I have a chance to say these things. And I want to let him know that I appreciate all the support, no matter how crazy my idea was of what I was going to do. I appreciate all the support, and I know that he's proud of me, even though he's not here. And he's never seen my children. They've never gotten to meet their grandpa. They've seen pictures. But I know he'd be proud of me for the father I've become, the husband I am, and for just the success I've had in this business, and the success I'm going to continue to have in this business. And I just want to take a minute to say something about my dad. And there is a story to tell, and I got a couple minutes. I'm just going to tell it real quick. I hope you don't mind, David. But
no problem.
The story my father always told was about a wrestler. He went to the wrestling matches. It was in Roseburg, Oregon. And he was watching his favorite wrestler, who at that time, I'll say the name, was Luther Lindsay. And you people go out there and you look up history, you look up the name Luther Lindsay, and you are going to see history in the making right there. That man was amazing. And he was my dad's favorite. And at the end of the match, he was hurt. You know, the bad guy got the best of him. And my dad had a few beers that night. So Luther was selling. Oh, he's hurt. My dad walked him back to the locker room to help him out. They got back to the curtain. And the whole time, Luther was holding on to my dad, holding his side. They got back to that locker room, and Luther stood up, slapped my dad on the back, said, "Thanks a lot, buddy. Thanks for coming," and walked into the locker room. From that day on, my father said that, this wrestling is that fake-a-loo bullshit, whatever, like I told you. But he told me that story so many times that I finally decided, in honor of him, and I did this before, I decided to do it before he passed, so he got to see it. I have Luther Lindsay's name tattooed on my arm, and right next to it is my father's initials, so I can always tell the story of Luther Lindsay and my dad in Roseburg, Oregon, at the wrestling matches, because they were wrestling back then. And I can keep that story alive. And it allows me to talk about my dad for a minute, just like I did here. And I appreciate having a few minutes to say something. Sorry to bring the show down on such a note here, but on that note, I'm just going to say that you can You can find me on Facebook. You know where to find me. I said it every night. Encyclopedia World Class. You can find me on Twitter at EncycloWCCW. And I'm still not on YouTube. My show's going to be on YouTube. And I know that hopefully my dad might watch that show. Maybe there's YouTube in the heavens somewhere. I'm not really a religious man, but I like to think my dad's up there and he's watching everything. So I'm going to pass this on to David to let him close out the night. And I will see everybody next week, once again here on IHWE Radio. Thank you, everybody.
And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we're going to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Wherever you are, have a wonderful night, and we will hear you next week right here on IHWE Radio. Good night from all of us to all of you.